Welcome to Ask the Aunties, where we honor the women who raised us, inspired us, and continue to shape our futures. Not just through rituals and recipes, but through resilience and reinvention. Today's guest is a true force, a successful businesswoman in the financial world, an empire builder, and a proud Desi woman who never left behind her roots. This is Geeta from GK Finances. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Nish. Really appreciate. Thanks for having me in all about this auntie business.
Thank you so much for saying yes and being part of it. We're going to warm up. We're not going to get into anything too deep too fast. What's one tradition that you practice every single week, no matter how busy you get?
On a daily basis or a weekly basis?
Often.
So I can give you two instead of one. We have a tradition when we leave our house in the morning, whether it's my son leaving, my daughter leaving, or I, or either of we, four of us in the family, we do not say goodbye. We say Jai Ganesh, have a nice day. Jai Ganesh is like being a Hindu. All our things start with Lord Ganesha. So that's what we do. And one thing every Thursday is a routine in the household. And no matter where I'm in the world, whether I'm got an access to my home temple, we do our traditional Indian puja.
Love it.
So a couple of years back on a Thursday, I happened to be in London. And there was no temple where I could easily be accessible near my hotel where I was living. So I was living opposite St. Paul's Cathedral. So I went into the church. And it only took me 5 minutes to be there and pray and come back. So you can do what you want to any part of the world.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I love that, because we were also raised in that sort of belief that you can choose what you want to believe. Wherever you find peace, that's your religion. I love that. Now we'll go into a little bit of a rapid fire, and then we'll go into a bit of a deep dialogue based on the conversation that we're having before the podcast. What is one lesson your parents have drilled into you that has stuck?
Don't ever do anything wrong knowingly. Unknowingly it happens, it's okay. Do not harm anyone.
Chai or coffee when making big decisions?
Chai.
Always chai.
Chai. Chai brings a family together.
Yeah,
Chai,
absolutely.
Dissolves all the arguments.
For those of you that don't do this, start doing it. Make a good cup of tea and just call people over, and you'll see how much community that you create at home.
Absolutely.
What's the most Desi thing you do at work?
Desi, I bring chai from home.
I bring chai.
I bring chai from home, and I bring lunch as well. 4 days a week.
That's right. I think, chai is a big concept of Desi culture.
Especially from North India. If you're North Indian, chai is breeded in you. Coffee is good, don't take me wrong. My husband's a coffeeholic, I'll call it.
Yeah.
But our morning chai are together, and evening chai, we try to be together.
Yeah, that's it. It's a reason for community. Now, talking about culture, let's go a little bit deeper. Do you worry that our culture is slowly fading away in our generation?
Yes, I feel it is fading quite a bit.
Is there anything that you're doing in your home environment or in your personal life to actively keep it alive?
I'm a mother. I've got 2 grown-up kids. Both kids were born in Australia. I left India when I was 3. So for us, we kept seeing what our parents did. We had certain lifestyle, which we had to maintain. We had certain rules we had to follow. Following a religion is not what we were implementing in life. Following a tradition was we were getting drilled in, that it's a tradition in the family. My kids don't follow everything. We are Hindus. My son doesn't believe much in God, but he will follow the tradition. My daughter believes in God, but she will still follow the tradition. I have never forced my kids or anyone in the family to blindly follow anything.
Absolutely.
You need to have a logic, and if it's a logical way and you think it's right, go for it. But if you're just doing it because it's peer pressure, don't even dare to think about it, because it's not going to work. In my family, one thing for sure, no matter what happens, we have a meal together. Whether it's a good day or a bad day, food brings together.
With a cup of chai.
With a cup of chai, absolutely. My kids are coffee people.
Okay, so you mentioned earlier, for example, you would say Jai Ganesh, and then you do these Thursday pujas, for example. What other practices do you do or rituals that you abide by on a daily, weekly basis? For example, I remember in a conversation last week, you said that you teach people the Chalisa.
Yeah, Hanuman Chalisa.
That's right.
Yeah.
So things like that, I think, are so pivotal to make sure that the next generation knows what we're all about.
Every second day, we do have a festival.
That's right.
For example, if it's Diwali, we have 5 days of Diwali.
Mm-hmm.
So we celebrate all the 5 days. If you've got Holi, it's a no-brainer. My friends know if it's Holi, which is the festival of colors.
Yeah.
We are a group of 15, 20 friends. It's a no-brainer. It has to be my house. We've been doing it ever since we've been in this country.
Now, you mentioned Holi, you mentioned Diwali, and all of these cultural traditions. Do your kids know why they're celebrated?
Yes.
And for those of you that don't know, can you explain what is Holi, for example?
Holi is a festival which says, we end all the negative and we start afresh. So, and our festivals are made in such a way that they're 6 months apart. If you see, Holi comes in March, April, okay, and Diwali will always be October, November.
Yeah.
And in between we do have Dussehra, which is again the victory where Lord Ram, I would say, got victory. So we have celebrations. So Holi, in some places, it's the ending of the bad and new beginning of the new. Also, in North India, in Punjab, the farmers actually, start putting their seeds in, and they cut their harvest as well.
That's right.
So, there are multiple reasoning of celebrations, and every culture has their own reason. So I'm from North, I take it as differently, but there are other provinces in India which we take differently. So the kids need to know. We can't tell them, if you have time and you've got parents in the house and grandparents, then definitely there's a story behind it. But because the kids are born here, and some of the stories it doesn't make sense to them. So I've always told them, this is happiness. You celebrate its happiness.
Yeah.
Something which has gone last 6 months was not the best, but the next 6 months are going to be the best. So it's happiness, it's prosperity.
That's right.
You bring in people in your house, you get different type of energies coming into your house. You have different types of people smiling, talking.
Exactly.
Yes.
Now, I feel like I'm really blessed in my upbringing because I'm surrounded by people that can tell me these stories. For example, Holi, why we celebrated Diwali, I get this information from my parents. So they have always made sure that when we are being raised as children, while we are battling to adjust with that modern society of being in Australia,
absolutely,
we need to know why we're celebrating Diwali, why are we lighting candles, why do we keep all the lights on? That's really important. Now, you as well, you're obviously passing these stories down to your children.
Absolutely.
Now, for those maybe new parents that, maybe need that guidance, how would you support them in making sure that they also raise their children in a way where they're both culturally aware, but also they don't get tied into the complications that come up with adapting to the modern Western society?
See, the thing is, the first thing as parents we need to understand, and like as I said, I was 3 when I left India. We used to leave home in the morning, 8 a.m. for our school. And I grew up in Africa, and we studied in British schools. So we were among the very little brown people, and we followed the Catholic system and everything was, I would say, the Western culture, and we got a lot of good things from there. We need to have a balance. When we come home, my mom always said, when you come home, home is home, and it's a Desi household. It's her rules. It doesn't belongs to a society where we are, but it's a Desi upbringing. So we used to speak Hindi. Hindi is my language. I speak Hindi. My both kids, we passed on the same thing. I said, you go to school, you've got the best friends. All my kids' friends are multicultural, and we have an amazing group of friends, even here. But you need to understand your cultural values, your traditions are always there, and you need to have them implanted in yourself. And if you go to someone who, let's say, an Australian, they are there, they have their own values.
That's right.
They keep with their values, and they respect other people's value. That's why you and me are in this country.
That's right.
You know, and any culture, keep the value system there. Respect should be there. You need to speak your language at home. Make your food. If the child knows your language at home and knows what our traditional food, it's very important for upbringing. I remember, like, we're the second generation kids. My whole family moved out of India. My mom's side of family moved out in the 1960s. So we are the second and third generation Indian Americans and Indian in the UK as well. We all follow the same tradition, no matter. We do Christmas, we do Easter, we do everything. But when it comes to Holi, Diwali, it's a tradition. We have to follow it, and we've got to show the kids. And these young parents are very lucky, Nish. We've got YouTubes, we've got Insta, we've got Facebook. You've got so much of literature available on the internet.
That's right.
We were relying on what our grandmothers told us.
Yeah.
My grandmother used to give us stories about how things happen, and she used to relate it with fairies and the good guy and the bad guy. And then television has got us into the next series. You've got a lot of content, good content on the internet to
Now you have
show it.
ChatGPT, you have AI.
AI.
One question, you have the
Amazing.
whole history, you have a textbook summarized as to why we do certain things. So you're absolutely right. The sources of our truth before came from our parents. Now, this generation, from my understanding, is they want to know more. We've got a really curious generation.
And they have the content available.
Exactly.
They're lucky. They're not like us. We've got to wait for the night time for a story.
Yeah.
And we've got to tell our kids, like, I never did that storytelling to my kids. I was very crazy at one time. Every Sunday, I used to put on my wedding videos. Back in the days, we used to have cassettes. I used to put that because when we moved to Australia 25 years back, we didn't have much of an Indian community. And
the whole family would watch your wedding videos on Sunday?
Yeah, it was always like, while the kids were little and I was busy doing the home shows, the wedding video was on. And they could see and ask me questions. Why were we not there? I said, because I was very busy and the budget was low. I couldn't invite you guys. And then they grew up and, eventually after 6 months, I switched it off and then we switched it on again because videos were the thing. And then I used to put Hindi Bollywood music. So that was how it was.
Yeah,
you've got to keep them connected.
Absolutely. And honestly, growing up, our parents did not let us watch anything that's just standard on the TV as well.
Yeah, and Simpsons was like, the R-rated.
Yeah, I did not watch Simpsons until like I was 13 plus, maybe 15 even. So you're right. When you're growing up in the beginning, what you consume, and this goes back to what you were saying before, what you consume becomes what you
absolutely
portray in the world and how you believe you are.
And the first 7 years of a child is the growth stage where his mind develops. And when he sees or she sees what they are seeing, it's going to be in their mind forever.
That's right.
How you treat your mom, how you treat your dad, how you react on small things in life. And I'm a strong believer. What you see is what you follow because your subconscious mind is always working.
That's true. Now, going into a little bit more of a professional lens, because obviously you're a very successful businesswoman, do you feel like maybe being Desi or brown in this society has ever been a blocker for you?
Not really. No.
Maybe has being a woman been a blocker for you?
Yes, I would say at one stage in life, because my son was 5 weeks old when I went back to work.
Yeah.
We were pretty new in the country, and that was the time when I was establishing myself. But being a woman, I'm from corporate banking, and you can only go till I'm going 12 years back. Things have changed in the banking industry tremendously. We are back in the days we were not equal. In corporate and business banking, we had that little women. And I think we still have a big room to play with it and to get things moving.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, you can only go and then you get exhausted as well because it's a man's world. But things have changed tremendously in the market.
That's right.
We've got equality in salary as well. I don't think I was discriminated with money ever when it came to salary, because I think I got equally paid as a man. Maybe because I was educated enough to fight for it as well. And I'm a very resilient person. I wouldn't take no for an answer at all. That is
Strong
a
woman.
big problem or a benefit to me, and that kills my personality sometimes, because I just feel, why should I be treated like this? Why not me? If you tell me, Geeta, we can go left, but this is if I have a proper reasoning, why am I going left, not to the right, I'll follow it. But I've just been told that, yes, this is a way, you've got to follow this. I would never do that.
Yeah.
That's just me.
I think that's so strong, because a lot of the times we're raised in an environment where, for example, in hospitality, the customer's always right. Like, you've
100%.
always got to, say, put some blockers in for yourself. But if you have enough power and knowledge to understand what's wrong and then fight for it, I think you sit in that 1%, because people, you're right, don't know that they can say no, or they can fight for themselves.
You have to. You know what? That's something which we need to train and teach our kids from the minute they are born. Discipline. And one more thing I feel which is missing in this society is being ethical, being honest, and being in discipline. If you follow honesty and discipline, success comes to you in every way or form. Trust me.
Yeah.
There's no other formula for being in every, whether it's a relationship with your mom and dad, siblings, business. It's very easy. Just be honest. Don't be diplomatic. Yes, I'm in business. I have to be diplomatic. In every relationship, you have to be. But the day you feel that you have to be diplomatic at home, then it's not called home.
That's absolutely right. Yeah.
So I think we need to really teach our kids to be disciplined, to be honest, and the ethics. You need to teach them. And I think that's where we all are so busy doing our businesses. Well, a mom gets up in the morning at 5 a.m. and rushes to work. A dad rushes to work. And the kids are in the daycare. Mind you, my kids have been raised in daycares. So there are a lot of moms, when I was working full-time, said, oh, we're part-time because we want to give our kids a better upbringing. And that was their perspective. They wanted to do it that way. For me, my dad told me, just because you've delivered a child doesn't mean you've got to, be home and looking after him. The child will only recall the days when he goes to school and you're there for him. You've got this time, you're young, work hard and be successful, and have a life for them when they need this money and they need a life. I'm an immigrant, I would call myself as the first generation, but with education, with degrees, we migrated from the US. So we knew what we want to do, what we have. And Australia is a beautiful country. It gave us everything what we wanted. And this is the least we can give back.
Yeah.
Teaching the right things and creating a good generation moving forward for this country.
Absolutely. Going back to daycares, do you feel like having your kids in daycares impacted their upbringing in any way?
In a positive way. My son, as I said to you, I was 5 weeks. He was 5 weeks when I went back to work. And I was at St. George Bank at that time. During lunch breaks, I used to give him the bottles. All my express milk used to go home, and we had the facilities. We were lucky, and I wouldn't be able to do that without my husband. My mom was here to look after my son, but my both kids went to daycare at a very young age. They were so independent. Kids become independent, but remember, the child is in daycare for 6.5 or 7 hours or 8 hours. The rest of the hours, the child is with you. In 24 hours, if your child goes to a daycare, it doesn't takes anything out of them except bringing good value system in there. They appreciate the parent working hard. My both kids are appreciating every day on an ongoing basis that if you didn't work hard, we wouldn't be where we are.
Yeah.
We wouldn't be. And I think that's what when you give everything and when you surrender yourself to a child, that's the first mistake as a parent we do, because you always need to look after yourself. Once you're strong enough to look after yourself, you'll definitely, it's a no-brainer, your child will be fine. You know, so that's what I feel. Daycare is important.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, it teaches the child discipline and independence from a very young age, and not to be overly dependent on you. I'm not a mum, but I'm surrounded by a lot of mothers, and obviously learning from you as well that it is equally as important to, you know, prioritize your own goals, especially if
Absolutely.
you need to be a successful businesswoman
Oh,
and a
you're too
mum,
kind.
and make sure that your children are culturally aware. The amount of challenges that you've experienced, I feel like there's a lot to learn from you.
Oh, thank you. You know, Nish, a fun fact of mine, I flew alone by myself with no parent or anyone at the age of 5. And that was from Mumbai to London, London to
To
Nairobi,
London
and Nairobi to Lagos, because my dad was posted in Lagos. So it was my first flight
as a
solo.
5-year-old.
Yes. We had the air hostess as my caretaker and everything, but
So you've been independent.
from day one, and that's my upbringing.
I thought me going to London this year was a really big deal, but I'm like almost in my 30s and I am now doing a solo trip. You did that when you were 5.
I was 5, and I was like, you know, all I remember, I was given the instructions, and you know, when you're just in Hindi and you've got instructions, and it was so much drill that night. I had everything written that once the air hostess and everything, you know, back in the days we used to have this tag system, and my I was in Bombay, so Mumbai back, you know,
Right,
it
right,
used
right.
to be called Bombay.
Yeah.
My grandfather took me to the airport and, you know, delivered, literally hand delivered me to the air hostess, and she explained to me, and I had no idea she's an air hostess. I knew she's an auntie and she's going to take me to my mom and dad. But that was my first trip, and then I spent 2 days because it wasn't a direct flight back in the day, so we had to have a halt. And she took me to London. We were together in London, and I did that for a long period of time with the airline. So I always was independent, and my parents made me that way. And I've done the same with my kids. If a drop of a hat, if something happens to me or my husband, I know my kids will be standing again stronger than what they are today.
Wow.
So
is this the secret of a successful independent businesswoman, traveling alone when you're 5 years old?
yeah. Yes, I love, you know what? I love having my time. I go for lunches by myself as well.
I love that too.
And,
Yeah.
you know, just me eating alone,
Mm-hmm.
and I zone out. So it's just me.
Now, as I mentioned, a lot to learn from you.
Oh my
But
God.
what I want to do is just let's summarize, because there's a very wide variety of people that might be watching today. So what's one piece of advice that you would give to young parents of this generation here in Australia?
If you know your language, no matter whether it's Hindi, Punjabi, Marathi, Kannada, Telugu, or Malayali, any language, what's your native language? Speak that at home. If you are not very fluent at it, a bit pieces, your kids need to know their roots. Language, make your food. Make sure your child knows when they are unwell, they can go for a go-to food. Like my kids, they know the minute they're not well, I'm going to say, why don't you have a khichdi? Okay.
That's it, yeah.
And dal chawal. So
Khichdi is like a superfood, by the way. Like
yes.
It's like it fixes you in an instant. It's amazing.
It is amazing. And you know what? When they were young, once a week was a khichdi day. And I think my kids are over and done with khichdi, but sometimes, because my son isn't in Sydney, he's in Gold Coast,
yeah.
I do recommend him, you know what? I've done the premix, why don't you just put boiled water in it and have it? And he said, yeah, one day. But the day he's unwell, I'm sure he does it.
Yeah, of course.
So there should be something, the kids need to know what your food is. Food brings people together in every country. Every part of the world. You go to Italy, you've got the pasta, you've got the pizza, the bread.
Yeah.
You know, you go to the UK, you've got the mashed potatoes. You know, every country has their own food. India's got so much food. The food should be there. Chai should be there. Something which brings you together and bends relationships. Speak your language. Do not try and practice your English on your kids, my dear. Your kids will learn English day in, day out. And they'll be speaking more fluently and much better English than as an immigrant or a migrant parent we would. Okay, so don't worry about that. This country gives a lot to our kids, and it's given a lot to us. So teach what you can at home as well.
I love that. And now to maybe a different market that might be watching you right now. What's one piece of advice as a successful female business owner? What's one piece of advice that you give to the next generation of Desi women leaders that want to do things differently?
I would say believe in yourself. Don't oversell yourself. You don't need to sell yourself. Be who you are. Because you know what, your knowledge plays a big part. I've seen a lot of young generation, or I would say my generation as well, like, who try to, I'm in business, so this is a harsh way. A lot of women dress up and make their hair. They like to be the best. They think beauty buys business. Never. Don't go that path. That's a very, very, that's not the right way. Okay? Be who you are. If you have your own identity, you've got your knowledge, no one else can beat it. And you will not win everything. And always remember, that's what I use this every day. I've got nothing to lose because I've got nothing. I'm going out with nothing. So everything which I'm getting every day is a plus.
Added bonus.
You know?
I love that mentality. That's so true.
And you learn from people, every no is a very good yes for you, because this is a mistake I've done. Next time I won't do this.
That's such a beautiful thing to mention, because the amount of rejections that you have to get through sometimes just to get one yes, but that yes can change the entire trajectory of your personal life and your career.
Absolutely. And you know what? If you don't get no's, you will never appreciate yes. A lot of people say, oh, you know what? I'm so successful. Yes, you are successful till the next call.
Yeah, exactly.
So every day should be fresh. You learn one thing new. If you don't learn, you might not sleep that night. That's how it should be.
I'm completely with you. Geeta, I feel like you're like my spirit.
Oh, no.
I feel like this is
you're amazing.
Everything that I want to say is coming out of your mouth, and I'm so happy that you've taken some time out to join us.
Thank
today.
you. You know what you do, Nish? It's amazing. And picking up this topic is very important. And you're not just doing things, you do marketing, okay? You are a Blue Moon marketing. But you actually bringing up this topic is not required, but you're doing it so that it can benefit the society. And it's important. If young people like yourself do it, people will follow it, because we are the aunties,
Yep. And we are the next generation of aunties. I want to be able to know what I'm telling my kids one day.
ChatGPT.
That's so true. In this generation, that shouldn't be an issue. But the stories, even though, you've got this era of AI and, technology, the stories that come from your mothers and grandmothers, the real authentic stories, ChatGPT cannot replicate.
So there's a reason why we have a grandparents' day at school.
Yeah,
there is a reason for everything. And I would strongly suggest the next generation Indian, and I don't know if everyone will agree, stay connected with your parents, because you know what? They are your future. Daycare. A daycare will not teach you or your child how to grow a child. If you've been where you are today, surely you're successful and your parents have done an amazing job. So make sure you're connected with them, stay close to them, because they are your future. Your kids will be exactly like you, because every parent, like your mom would want you to be like her.
Yeah.
Okay? I would want my son to be like myself and my husband, and my daughter I would want the same. How can we replicate that? Because we didn't do it ourselves. Our parents did it. Our family did it for us.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Wow. A lot to digest. And
I know.
I
talk a lot.
But I'm so happy, because there are powerhouses in our society that have so much to share and so much knowledge. And I feel like having an avenue where you can, teach the next generation, like you going to the mandir and teaching the Hanuman Chalisa, for example.
Yeah.
It is a really big deal.
And you need to, I'm a part of a temple in Castle Hill, which is local to me. We go there. We find some I try to go every Tuesday. I've been very regular for last 10 years. Just last few months, I'll be honest, I haven't been I've been missing. Yes, I have been, because of work, because of you. All this marketing business you've given me. So Tuesday when we go to the temple, there are young kids, 3 years, 4 years. Parents are doing, and they just give it to, no,
I think it's like, what do I do with this plate?
And the
with
child
fire
is
on
just,
it?
okay, so it's always from left to right, never right to left. It's always left to right. And then you join your hands like this. You just don't do it like this, because this is not energy. This is when you do together, your both arms, your everything, like, both hands go together. So this is, the tip is like this, so it's energy. If it's like this, it's not, it's content. And when you clap, it's your soul gets happy as well, because of the whole nervous system, it's science as well, and it's small thing. That's why we have, if you're happy, clap your hands. So that's exactly what we do.
Wow.
So, small things you could teach your kids.
Yeah. I did not know that. I didn't know clapping relaxes your nervous system.
It does, because it just activates all the nerves, your membranes, your muscles, because everything's moving.
Yeah. Wow. Again, I feel like we were going to continue to talk for the rest of the day.
You've got better work to do now.
No, this was very important. Thank you so much for your time today, Geeta. And thank you all for tuning in to Bad and Desi. This series was Ask the Aunties, and today we had GK Finances.
Thank you.
If you're interested to watch more, please subscribe, like, and follow and share. That's the first time I've said that. Sounds really legitimate.
Yeah, it is.
So much.
Do follow her.
Thanks, guys.
Thank
See you
you.
soon.